Well, hey everyone, happy Math Crush Monday. So let me know if you're here tonight. Our goal tonight is I wanted to walk through the one question that I ask more and more often. The more I teach, the more I start asking this question, and the more I uncover what students don't know that I thought they knew. Right? So I'm going to try to give you some examples from all the different grade levels to help you out with this. But the question that I have started asking more and more is, why is the answer not? Okay, so this is not because, and I think that it'll help us to uncover some things about students' understanding. So let me show you a few examples. I'm going to give you several at, hi Lindsay, glad you're here, some examples for every grade level. Okay, so I'm going to start here with kindergarten, but my hope is, my understanding is that you are going to be able to use this. Let's see if I can decide where to go here. I'll go down there. That you would use this no matter what grade level you teach. So try to make the connection to your grade level, and then I'll give you several other grade level examples here. But if we look at kindergarten, it seems like we should be able to do a sort, and this particular sort is from my Math Genius squad. This is a part of kindergarten unit 4 when we start talking about 3D shapes. And you can see over here on the left-hand side, I have all of the shapes that we would be sorting, and we haven't actually even learned all these shapes yet, right? But it doesn't mean that we have to have learned the shape in order to sort them, specifically when we're focused on attributes. So I have sorting mats, this is spheres, not spheres. The sorting mat could be stackable, not stackable. The sorting mat could be rolls, doesn't roll, okay? So the point, though, is that they can look at the shape even if they don't know what the shape is called and decide where it goes. So let's just say that we have this shape and we say, oh, that's not a sphere. Okay, so this particular lesson's about spheres. We want kids to recognize, is it a sphere or is it not? So in this case, it is not a sphere, so it would go here. Now, many of us would just leave the statement there. Like, we would leave the conversation, done, okay, go to the next shape. And so a kid could go through and they could sort all of these shapes and never actually have to say anything. But if I said to you, okay, you can sort it, but you have to tell me why it's not a sphere. Okay, so that goes back to my initial question. My question is, so this is not because, or and whatever the example might be. So in this case, it is not a sphere because, and now what do you know? Well, it's not a sphere because it has corners. That's good thinking. You're right. It has corners. A sphere does not have corners. Well, it's not a sphere because it doesn't roll, right? Well, I mean, some of us could argue, yes, it rolls like a dice rolls, but technically, if it has corners, it doesn't roll. You're right. How many corners does this shape have? Okay, now I can expand the conversation. We can go further with it. It's not a sphere because it's not round. You're right. So telling me why it's not something helps me to understand why you know something is something. Okay, so for example, this is a sphere. Great. How do you know it's a sphere? And now we can list the attributes of a sphere. What about this? Sphere, not sphere. And well, it's not a sphere. Why is it not a sphere? And now, because they can say, well, it has one corner. It has a round side. It has, or it doesn't have, whatever. So we can talk about these different attributes, but having them explain why it isn't is boosting our math talk, right? Remember, kids should be talking 70% of the class time. 70% of our math block students should be talking. And they're not going to be talking that much about what they know and why they know it if it's just a matter of putting things in categories. Now, there is something to say. That's depth of knowledge 1. That's recall. It is or it isn't. It is or it isn't. But if we're going to raise that depth of knowledge, we have to do more with what we're doing, or what we're sorting. Okay, so that's one example. If I were to take you down here to our sorting mats, our teen mats, I should say, we're building teen numbers. And so oftentimes kids, will go and they'll make all of their teen numbers and they'll say, well, this is 12 and this is 13. And they build their teen numbers, which is what they're supposed to do. My next question is first, well, how do you know this is 13? Okay, and so kids could say, well, I know it's 13 because it looks like 13. You're right. That is how 13 looks. 13 looks like it has a group of 10 and 3 extra ones, or it has a 1 and a 3. That's how it looks. Okay, how else do you know it's a 13? I know it's a 13 because it has one group of 10 and 3 extra ones. How else do you know it's 13? I know it's 13 because that's the number we say when we say it on the chart up there. We say 13 when we point to that chart. That's a good idea. You're right. That is the name we say. That's why it's 13. There's so many different ways we know it's 13. But remember, my magical question is, but why isn't it 12? Okay, think about how much more a student has to say now. But why is that not 12? Well, it's not 12 because it has an extra 1. Or it's not 12 because it doesn't have 2 here. It has a 3 here. Well, why is that? Well, because this has 3 1s. This one has 2 1s. Well, it's not 12 because that's not how 12 looks. Well, it's not 12, right? Why is it not 15? Now you know, once we know depth of knowledge 1, we can recall. I know it's 11. I know it's 12. I know it's 13. But then why isn't it? Now that ups the ante, okay? The rigor just jumped a lot. So there's a couple of examples from kindergarten. Knowing what it is just one step of learning. Knowing why it isn't something else is just a whole nother level that really will uncover what kids actually understand about a topic. So let's look at a couple other examples. If I were to go here to my Jamboard, okay, so let's look at this perimeter and area. I know many of you are in that unit right now in your upper grades. So if I said to you, here's my figure, okay, and I said, so why is the perimeter not 12 units? Normally we say, what's the perimeter? Okay, and then we like do our little definition of what perimeter is. Remember, that's depth of knowledge 1. That's just recalling what is perimeter, how do I find it? The different question is, well, why is the perimeter not 12 units? Now, if you look at that, you can tell because it's not 12 units because that's the area. The area is 12 units. Well, how do you know that? Well, what might someone be thinking if they think it's 12 units? Well, they might be mistaking what area is versus perimeter. They took 3 times 4, that's 12. But perimeter is all the way around. It's a length measurement. They should have been measuring the lengths all the way around that figure. There's more to say when we talk about what it isn't than what it is. Okay, so let's look at this one. What if I said to you, I want you to find 3/4 plus 2/4? Okay, that's recall. Just figure out what 3/4 plus 2/4 is. Well, it's 5/4, right? But then I said, well, but when, so they get that right. And I said, but why isn't it 5/8? Okay, again, you can figure it out from patterns. Oh, it's 5/4. But you have to understand it to tell me why it is not 5/8. Okay, it's not 5/8 because 3/4, okay, plus 2/4, they're all still fourths. The size of those pieces did not change. The number or the quantity of pieces did change. We'll say it again. The size of the pieces did not change. They are all fourths. That's the size of those pieces. The quantity or the number of pieces did change. So the answer is not 5/8 because if it was 5/8, we would have also changed the size of the pieces. We would have gotten more pieces inside of each whole. That's not what happened. We didn't get more pieces. We did not change the size of the piece. We just got more of them. So that's why the answer is not 5/8. Okay, so thinking about this for you in your grade level, I want you to think about what you're teaching this week and why it's not something. Can kids tell you why it isn't something else and engage in some more dialogue? I know that Puzzle Penguin is one of the ways we do this. He oftentimes makes errors, but I want you to make sure it's not just, oh, he forgot to add the decimal point in. Okay, that's not deep thinking. So why isn't it 5 and 26/100ths or something like that, right? And it's, well, because the decimal point, but why? Why is that not the issue? Well, because if you added this much money and this much money, you wouldn't have gotten 26 cents. We want them to think more reasonably about why it is and isn't, because that tells you what it really is. The more you can say about what it's not, the more you understand what it is. All right, friends, so that's our Math Crush Monday tonight. I wanted you to start with that one question. Why is it not, or this isn't because? Okay.